The back-to-school program brought back fans of the show, one of the game's most clamored for legends. No, unfortunately, it is not everyone's favorite two-way superstar, Rick Ankiel. It was the blue chip prospect turned Braves legend, Larry Jones, better known as Chipper Jones. Mirroring his career in real life, the year after we are given Chipper's MVP Award Series card, we are given another Award Series Chipper Jones. Jones's performance the season after his MVP campaign was good enough to earn him the Silver Slugger Award at third baseman in the NL. To understand why, let's go back in time and see how it happened. We begin this story at the start of September 2000. Heading into the last month of the season, it was coming down to the final pair of teams in the NL East competing for the division's pennant. One of the teams tied for first place were the New York Mets. After a strong August where they made up the 5.5 games back they were behind Atlanta, New York had now gotten to the same record as the Braves at the end of the month. Until this moment, since early April, the Braves had been in sole possession of the NL East after they had gotten hot and won a franchise record 15 games in a row from April 16th to May 2nd. First place, the Atlanta Braves, and winning were all pretty much synonyms for each other at this point in the late 1990s and early 2000s. In his first full year as the Braves manager, Bobby Cox would turn Atlanta, the worst team in the entire league at 65-97 in 1990, into a World Series contender with a first place record in the NL West Division in 1991. Wait. The Atlanta Braves were in the NL West at one point? Removing 1994 because of the strike-shortened season, the OJ trial, and my arrival on this celestial plane, the Braves would win their division's pennant every year from 1991 to 2005. 1995, the Braves won the World Series. 1996, they lost the World Series. 1997 and 1998, they got bounced from the NLCS. 1999, they made it back to the October Classic, only to be swept by the Yankees for back-to-back championships. God, what a weird coincidence. Chipper Jones's career in the major leagues really got going in this exact same time frame as when the Braves got really good. After coming up and dealing with the 1994 OJ trial season, 1995 saw Chipper end up second in the Rookie of the Year votings, notching over 130 hits with 23 home runs and 800 OPS and over 2.5 WARs. 1996 saw the Chips build his sophomore year into an even better display of why Bobby Cox was right to draft him as the number 1 overall pick 6 years earlier. The last part of the 90s saw Larry, his real name, continue to make his presence known in the baseball world. All-star nods and MVP votes became commonplace for him, along with a strong performance at the plate. In the 90s, Chipper had more seasons batting above 300 than below it. 1999 was Jones's most recognized year, as not only did he win the Silver Slugger Award at third base, but he was also named the National League MVP. Coming off his MVP performance, Chipper was hoping to have an even better season in 2000. According to Chipper's divorce lawyer and self-appointed expert baseball analyst, Jeff Bogart, quote, "He worked out harder this offseason than last offseason. This year will be even better than last year for him, especially now that he has this burden off of his shoulders. Other than his son, baseball is his first love." For the first time in the channel's history, I actually have a sponsor for today's video. Today's video is brought to us by Hooters. Hooters makes you happy. Putting these stresses, the fan jeers, and flexing on the haters aside, Chipper wanted the 2000 season to be even better than his MVP season the year prior for the most important reason around. His contract was up after the end of the year. If a deal wasn't done with the Braves at some point during the season, he would hit the market as probably the hottest item in free agency. People thought he was on track to become the highest paid player in baseball. April saw Chipper come out the gates like the 1999 season had never ended, hitting .299, a .927 OPS, and 5 home runs. May was a strong month for the Braves, as they went 17-10 for a division-leading 35-16 record, over 6 games ahead of the second-place Mets. What surprised most baseball fans wasn't the fact Atlanta was dominating yet again. It was who on the team was leading the charge. In the last decade, it was mainly the team's legendary pitching staff that had propelled the Braves to their success. The Big Three, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz alone combined to win 7 Cy Young Awards. Smoltz was missing the entire 2000 season, but making up for the injured Musketeer was a well-oiled unit composed of only the game's most dangerous hitters. Through late May, the Braves had 600 players posting a batting average over 300. June saw the Braves start to cool off, posting a 13-14 record in the month for a season split of 48-31. But now that lead over the Mets was down to only 2 games. Despite the team's record, Chipper was not disturbed, pushing his average up to .324, his OPS to 1,023, and a total of 19 home runs through the end of June. He was doing so well at this point that Jones was named to the National League All-Star team as the starting third baseman. For the All-Star game that year, Chipper would have to pack his bag, book a first-class flight, get some top-of-the-line hotel suite, and prepare for the festivities in Atlanta, Georgia. At first, the 2000 All-Star Game was initially awarded to the Florida Marlins, but the league had concerns over the chronically low attendance figures at the team's then named Pro Player Stadium in Miami, as well as the overall long-term viability of the entire Southern Florida baseball market. In December 1998, the National League president revoked Miami from hosting the game and gave it to the Braves. In the last episode of this series, which you should go all watch after this one, I made a joke about how Ron Santo's life could easily be made into a Disney Channel movie. While some parts of Chipper's story probably won't make the cut, this next moment is definitely in the same vein as a Disney Channel movie. There Chipper stood in the batter's box on the field at his home park for the team he loved that loved him back, playing during the All-Star Game. It was the bottom of the third, with the National League down 1-0. Facing the White Sox starter, James Baldwin, not related to Alec, and batting left-handed, Chipper awaited the 2-0 pitch. It might have sank low and away in the zone opposite him, but that did not matter. Jones had got so much bat to it, a crack that could be heard throughout all of Fulton County thundered, and the piece of matter previously known as a baseball had been transformed into a screaming home run to the left field gap. Rounding the bases, the crowd got to their feet to cheer as fireworks shot off in the distance. The game was tied up at 1. It did not matter that in the end, the American League would best the National League with a 6-3 victory. The crowd had been won over with Chipper's home run early in the affair, the only in the entire game. Entering the second half of the season, Chipper's vision for putting up a similar stat line to his MVP campaign seemed to be coming together. On pace for 44 home runs, 1 fewer than last year, he continued to bat 20 points above 300 with an OPS still above 1,000. The Braves, used the hometown festivities as the steam to power their dreams and trudged on to widen the gap between them and the second-place Mets. By the end of July, Atlanta pushed their record to 65-40, good for a 5-game lead over the division. As the final months of the season started to approach, the race for the postseason heated up between the Atlanta squad and the still competing second-place Mets. Surging towards another season of 100 RBIs and 40 home runs, by the start of August, Chipper still had not finalized a deal with the Braves for a new contract. However, as August pressed on, Jones faced not only a wrist injury, but also a lengthy slump, including a career-high hitless streak, going 0 for 23 over a 5-game span. Soon after the hitless streak was snapped, but still in the midst of the slump, baseball's worst-kept secret began to make its way to the press. The Braves and Chipper were coming to a deal. The reported details were said to be 6 years worth $90 million. It was not just Chipper who was seeing a lack of production at the plate. Of the Braves' home run leaders, multiple of them saw their power go out the first half of August. By the third week of that month, Atlanta's lead over second place had shrunk to around 2 games. Right on the cusp of both his contract extension and a career milestone of 1,000 hits, Chipper continued to slump. Then, August 18th came around and all that slumping shit didn't matter as much as before. Official word from the Braves came out that Chipper Jones and the team had reached an agreement for the rumored 6-year, $90 million contract between them. A day later, and Chipper broke through to reach 1,000 career hits as well. The second half of August saw Jones begin to regain his normal level of play, but still have a few hitless outings in the tail end of the month. Bigger than just Chipper's middling play was the entire Braves team. From when the contract was announced on August 18th to the end of the month, Atlanta went 5-9. In that same time frame, the second-place Mets went 7-5, and eventually by the end of August were tied with Atlanta for first place. Of the final 30 games for each club, a fifth for both of them, 6 games in total over 2 series, pitted the tied division rivals directly against one another. The first matchup came in Atlanta on Monday, September 18th. From being tied at the start of the month to the start of this series, the Mets tallied a 5-10 record, while the Braves put up a 9-6 record, placing the Braves' lead over New York at 3 games. This series was such an intense matchup, TBS made an extreme, hard rock TV promo to hype it up. Let's take a fucking look there, dudes. Going into the series, the Braves had the slight upper hand with a 4-3 record over the Mets that season. Game 1 in Georgia saw the professor himself, Greg Maddux, take on the Mets' Silver Slugger winning ace, Mike Frontline Hampton. Maddux threw 7 shutout innings on the way to a 6-3 Atlanta victory to push the division's lead to 4 games. Worth mentioning as when will I ever be able to do it again were the pair of Mets journeyman relief pitchers who came in after Hampton's start. Coming on in the 7th was a journeyman reliever who had bounced around the MLB as well as playing a pair of seasons in Japan to a middling baseball career. However, it seems like everything worked out for the better when in 2020 his son would win a Super Bowl and then sign the second largest sports contract in human history. In the 8th, jumping over the foul lines and making his way to the mound is honestly the strangest, weirdest, and most superstitious player in baseball history, Turk Wendell. From his obsession with the number 9, to brushing his teeth between every single inning, to the black licorice he loved to chew on, Wendell was a personality beyond his role as a journeyman reliever. Oh, and he wore a necklace made out of teeth from animals he killed. And he wanted to play his final year in the league for free, saying, quote, "I want my last season to be a testament to the game. I only wanted a few things out of life: a wife, children, to play baseball, and to hunt deer." Game 2 was a much more one-sided affair, as the Braves tripled the Mets' run with a score of 12-3. Mid-season acquisition Andy Ashby, uncle of current player Aaron Ashby, gave up 1 run over 7 innings. The final game of the series was a matchup of the All-Stars, Tom Glavine and Al Leiter. Glavine was looking for his 20th win on the season as he competed with the big unit for the NL Cy Young Award. Going deep into the 7th, the score read 3-2 with the Mets leading. New York put up 2 more runs up in the top of the 8th, along with 1 more in the 9th, to seal the 6-3 win and prevent the sweep. In this series, Chipper was a force at the plate. He went Slurpee mode, going 7 for 11 with 4 RBIs. By the end of the Mets' series, Jones's batting average on the year had returned to .310, his OPS was reaching near .370, and knocking on the door of 40 home runs. With the division leader separated by only 4 games, both teams had a 4-game road series against fellow NL East teams before their final rematch. The Mets took 3 out of 4 from Philadelphia, while the Braves as well took 3 out of 4 against Montreal. In New York for the final series between these 2 close division rivals, September 26th was Game 1. While he got the win in the last contest between them, Al Leiter failed to go 6 innings in the 7-1 Atlanta victory. Game 2 was the place where momentum in the series shifted greatly. After a 1-out solo home run by Andruw Jones in the first, New York's Rick Reed would go on to throw 7 scoreless innings, only letting up 3 more hits and a lone walk. Paired with this strong pitching effort was a correspondingly productive offense, something very rare in Mets history. In the end, it was 6-2 as New York walked away with the victory. In his final start of the season, Greg Maddux hoped to earn win number 20 and keep his name in the Cy Young conversation as well. However, Maddux was not able to earn the elusive 20th win as he gave up 4 earned runs through 5 innings. Not helping was a diffused Braves team who failed to produce against the lethal Mets pitching staff. Starter Bobby Jones went 8 innings, just giving up 2 runs and 7 hits against the Atlanta hitters. Coming in to relieve Bobby Jones in the 9th inning was Bobby Jones. Yes, you did hear that right. The 2000 Mets not only had 2 players on their staff with the exact same name, they were both pitchers, both wore numbers in the 20s, both were drafted in 1991, and both would end up on the Padres 2 years later. One threw right-handed, one threw left-handed, while one was a starter and one was a reliever.
You know, Bill, there's one thing I've learned in all my years. Sometimes you gotta say, what the fuck? Make your move.
I believe that these 2 are who the ancient Chinese myths were picturing when they spoke of the principles of yin and yang. Born from that chaos, the dangerous pairing of Bobby Jones and Bobby Jones kept Atlanta at bay as the Mets took the season series finale 8-2. The split favored the Braves, but the division was still up for grabs. With 3 games left for both teams, New York only trailed Atlanta by 3 games. With these final games, Chipper Jones, who has never in his life once been named Bobby, was still slashing at a high level offensively. His season batting average was up to .314, his OPS at .971, and he had 35 home runs. Returning back from Atlanta, the Braves only needed to win a single game to avoid the tiebreaker with New York. They faced off against the Colorado Rockies, who might have been a 500 team, but were not going to end the season quietly. Heading into the final series of the season, the Rockies' first baseman, Todd Helton, was hitting at .374 still. The Rockies took Game 1 of the weekend series, but in Game 2, Tom Glavine captured his 21st win, tossing 5 scoreless innings as the Braves won 5-2. It was close. It was tight. It was only by 2 games in the second to last game of the season, but god damn it, the Atlanta Braves had just won another NL East pennant. Even though the Mets would sweep the Expos in their last series, while Atlanta lost their series 2-1, the lone victory over Colorado would be what separated first place and second place. With the 3rd seed in the NL, the Braves were off for the playoffs with a series against the evenly matched second-seeded St. Louis Cardinals. The Braves were not fully gone, still holding on for the postseason with the wild card slot and the 4th seed. Atlanta suffered a second power outage at the worst time possible as the NLDS series against the Cardinals began. They were outscored 24-10 in the 3-game sweep they suffered from the St. Louis squad. Matched up against the 1st seed San Francisco Giants, they upset the NL West team with a 3-1 series win after 2 extra inning nail-biters. From there, they faced off against the Cardinals in the NLCS, where again the Mets upset the higher seed, taking the series 4-1. Finally, it was on to the World Series, where the Mets would face up against the returning New York Yankees for the classic Subway Series. Looking to be the first baseball team to win 3 World Series back-to-back-to-back since the early 70s Oakland Mustache Gang, the Yankees were ready to leave their mark. Flipping the script on the rolling Mets, the Bronx Bombers won a 4-1 series over the Mets to become the dominant New York baseball team and thus earning them all free subway tickets for life to everyone on the team. In the end, Chipper's stats on the 2000 season were as followed: a .311 batting average, a .970 OPS, 36 home runs, 38 doubles, 111 RBIs, an all-star selection, 1 settled divorce, and 1 massive contract extension, which, when put together, is enough to earn him the Silver Slugger Award at 3rd base in the National League. Thank you for watching this episode of Meet the Boss. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane as we look back into baseball history. Please, if you have any thoughts or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you could please subscribe to the channel, I really hope the Hooters joke doesn't come back to backfire on me, and if you sub here, that will for sure help me in any ensuing legal battle. Anyway, I hope you have a chipper day, everyone.
And with that, I just have 2 more words to say. Obama out.